Hey everyone, welcome back to the District 3 podcast, episode 270. My name is Edavine. My co-hosts have actually abandoned me for this episode, but joining us today, we have KUAF reporter Daniel Caruth with us today. Daniel, you're a big soccer fan yourself. Unfortunately, a Chelsea fan.
Wow.
But I saw Wes's facial expression change.
Spurs fan. So,
But joining us today, we have the co-founder of Ozark United with us, Chris Martinovic, and we also have the general manager of Ozark United, Wes Harris. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
I realized that when I made a Facebook post yesterday about the event, I actually accidentally said Ozarks United, but it's Ozark United.
That's right.
Important for people to know that. And I invited Daniel not only because he's a soccer fan, but he was also there at the event as well.
That's right. Yeah, I was covering it for Ozarks at Large.
There you go.
Ozark connection. Yeah.
you didn't even know.
I know.
So how do y'all feel? It's the day after the big reveal of the logo, the name. What are y'all feeling right now?
It was exceeded our expectations. I mean, the community turnout was just great. It's always difficult to plan these type of events. You don't know what the showing's going to be. We were just talking about that. And we ended up, we don't know the exact number, but, I mean, over 500 is kind of the feedback we've gotten. Probably even more than that at peak. People were waiting around the building line to get a beer. I mean, it was really an amazing showing from the community. I think it shows the people that maybe aren't soccer fans or maybe thought soccer is this kind of tertiary sport. Yeah. It's only played in certain ethnic groups, or that's a sport that's not really big here. Guess what? There's a ton of support for it. And I think the cool part about it was that we got to tell our story about the brand, and the brand is about inclusion and unitedness and a sport for all and a team for all, right? And so that just all kind of came together. But really, really excited with the way that the event went and the response from the community.
Yeah, the responses have just been so overwhelmingly positive. You're never going to please every single person, right? Yeah. But overwhelmingly, the response has just been so positive, and just the amount of people that came, I mean, to Chris's point, exceeded any expectations that we had. We knew that we've had something. We know just in our conversations with the community and over and over and over again, we are overwhelmed positively with pleasantly surprised on just how ready this community is for this and how excited they are for it. And that last night was just another key telltale moment and signal that NWA is ready for pro soccer.
And I'll just add, we through this process we've met a lot of fans, what I kind of call closet soccer fans, and gosh, we have so many in Northwest Arkansas. A lot of them came from other parts of the country where maybe they were fans of pro sports and/or soccer, and then they came here, and it's like, oh, we don't have pro sports.
Yeah.
I love and I'm a Razorback season ticket holder. I love going to the games. Woo Pigs Saturday night. Hope we beat Tennessee, man. But we want more. We need more. We deserve more. We have so much focus on the growth that's happening here, and the more people come here, the more they're going to want diversity of entertainment options, right?
Yeah.
And so this is meeting that need. But even last night, there was 15 to 25 people that I never met that came up to me and said, I played soccer when I was growing up. I loved it. I followed this team, and then I moved here, and I kind of lost contact with the game. But I'm so excited, and I can't wait to become a season ticket holder for the team.
Oh, wow.
That is a story that has repeated itself for the last several years of our discussion. So that makes us feel great about what we're doing and bringing the passion of the game back to people, right? That maybe they lost connection to.
Daniel, you were there. Like I said, you were there with Ozarks at Large. Can you talk a little bit about how the event was for you and your viewpoint?
I mean, yeah, it was electric being there. I did not know what to expect when I was I assumed, maybe this is not what you want to hear, but I just assumed it would be pretty small. I did not know how many people would show up. And I pulled around and could see the line of cars and people trying to turn in. I was like, oh, wow. It's going to be big. Yeah. It's going to be packed. And so, and just going around, I went through and was trying to get interviews beforehand and talk to people and see, okay, why are you here? What are you wanting out of this? And people, it was a lot of the same things you were saying. People who came from other places, want a professional, maybe not even a soccer fan. They're just like, I so want a professional sports team,
Yep.
or like maybe they went to an Auburn or they went to a Texas A&M and they don't want to support the Razorbacks, but they
That's
want
right. That's
professional
right. A lot of
sports,
that.
and this is just like such a
I didn't think about that.
There is a lot of that.
There's
Think
a lot
about
of
all
that.
the transplants
Yeah.
we have with all the different college and pro teams that they root for, especially if they're a rival college team.
exactly.
Right?
Especially
Yeah.
that, right?
And so it just was, I don't know, people were hungry for something like this. And I think it's a good time. You know, you've got a lot of things converging in 2026. And so, like,
Yeah.
this is a great time to sort of capitalize on that.
I think the other thing really quick on that impressed me with that number of turnout was 5:30 on a weeknight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
On
people
Like a Friday or Saturday,
Yeah.
you know.
people trying to get off work,
Yeah.
they're leaving early, like they're sacrificing that to go and get there and be there early, and it was just wild to see.
And it was an
and
interesting
so cool.
demographic of people, too.
Very
Like,
good.
it was not one standard
Yeah.
person.
No.
You know, there were, I talked to families with young
Young kids
kids. I
were
talked to,
around.
like, a grandmother who was there. I talked to, you know, people who were Hispanic, white,
Yep.
black, like
Yep.
just this cross section of people who were just excited to be here, men, women, everybody.
And I think that's just such a testament to what soccer can do. Is it is a sport. Sports bring everybody together, right? But soccer, we all know, is just because it's the world's game and it's the most popular game. It perhaps does that more than any other sport, and that's what we're super excited about. And I think we saw that, to your point, last night.
Well, were y'all surprised too? Because I know that you probably have to think to yourself, like, yeah, we're going to have people show up. Y'all have been doing a good job and everything. But you had to have been surprised, right? By the amount of people that showed up.
Yeah, we were. Now, listen, we had a range of, in our brain based on some feedback. You see social, Facebook responses, which, you never know are all of them going to show that say, or are they going to bring 2-3 people with them?
Yeah.
Right? We had like 100 officially respond on a Facebook page. But we knew that, through interactions and engagements and text messages we were getting from friends and people, we were like, okay, this is probably going to be, 250, 300. That'd be great. And we were in the middle of doing a prior engagement upstairs, and Mike Pearson, the owner of Rendezvous Junction, pulls me off of stage. I was literally just finished presenting. I come, and he's like, "Come here." Like, this is bad. I'm like, what, the video's gone. Like,
Yeah,
what's
something's happening.
He goes,
It's just West outside.
he goes, it is, I won't use the words exactly, but it is jammed downstairs, and there is no room for anybody. We have no more parking left, and the line to get a beers are outside and around the building. And I said, that's a great problem to have, by the way. So shout out to Mike Pearson and Rendezvous Junction.
Yes.
I mean, they added staff because we were starting to get a feel the day before that this was going to get bigger than we thought. So they went from like 2 bartenders to 3 bartenders to 4 bartenders. They started to do pre-pouring. They tried to really expedite the process. Sorry for folks that had to wait in line for a long time. It just is what it is. The response was, even bigger than we thought. But what a great setting, because we have the indoor, outdoor. We were able to out there on a beautiful night. And so just big shout out to Mike, Rendezvous Junction, Ken, the brewer, and everyone there just did an absolutely amazing job hosting such a massive, massive event.
And then that video was so good.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Like,
you.
I was
It's
just
good
really
to hear
impressed.
that.
I was like, wow. It gives you the feels, when it got to that point where it was like, what did it say? It's like, before it said Ozark United and then brought the logo in. I was like, and the voice of the guy that was in the video.
Yeah.
I was
Professional voice actor.
That voice was so good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Why don't you give a little shout out to Stone Ward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to give a shout out to Stone Ward and their team, and 360 Productions that helped make the video. They have guided us through this process. We always tell each other they're one of the best decisions that we've made yet as a club. They're based here in Arkansas. They have an office in Rogers. One of their managing partners, Brett, who spoke last night, lives here. They're in Little Rock. They're in Chicago. They've worked with U.S. Soccer before. They've worked with FC Como over in Italy. They've worked with NWSL. So they've gotten, the soccer pedigree and the history and understanding what a crest is and should be and means, and the branding and the fans. Like, it's really important to get that right and understand that as you're building this, right? And so they understand that, but then they also understand the process. They understand Arkansans. They understand Northwest Arkansas. And you couple that with the passion that you got in this guy over here, and the background of Warren Smith and just our community here. and we mix all that together in a nice mixing pot, and you got what you got last night, which was just phenomenal. So big shout out to Stone Ward. They worked really, really hard on it. And Brett and Tom and Emily, our lead designer there, just phenomenal. So.
And the process was very interesting. I participated in the fan panel, so we were able to kind of give our input on like the names and the crest and everything. And it was a very transparent process. People got the opportunity to very diverse set of people, which for me, like, I know the last time I interviewed you, Chris, I told you afterwards, I was like, I would love to be a part. And then like a few days later, I had an email from Wes, right? and for me, I was like, I not really for myself, but I just kind of wanted to make sure that it was, the language was important for me. I wanted to make sure this was like a name that people that didn't speak English could pronounce. I wanted to make
feedback a lot.
Yeah, and just those kind of things. I just wanted to contribute in case it wasn't contribute. But I'm guessing there was other people also that were also doing the same thing.
There were.
So I was just very happy with the name. I really enjoyed it. What is the feedback that y'all have gotten on the name? Y'all haven't checked Reddit yet, right?
Yeah,
Chris probably did.
Very positive. We always. You're never going to please everybody is always where you start with this stuff. It's a brand. And so for my career, I work with brands and putting them out in public, and you show a commercial, and like everyone has an opinion on it. So it's always going to be that way. That said, I thought we would receive and hear more social media feedback that would be some commentary that would start focusing on, hey, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And there's a little bit of that, but man, I would say it's like 5% of the commentary.
Honestly.
We talked a little bit about, Reddit sometimes is, I don't go on Reddit, but I got screenshots that I got from people because it's a great place to kind of understand. You have a little bit of an undercover name there, right? And people can say what they want to say, and sometimes it's terribly negative. And this was like very positive on Reddit, which just makes us,
give it
one
time.
more point. Let's see, as of last night, maybe the trolls
initial
haven't started
responses.
yet.
Initial
but
responses.
That's a great sign, right? That's a great sign, and it's not why we do this. Like the social media part is just you're going to have all kinds of responses. It's
Comes
much
with
more
the
about what
territory.
people in the community said to us and how they can relate to this. And I think we nailed that. But it is a nice checkpoint to see kind of the initial feedback. And again, you're never going to nail it with everybody, and that's just the way this goes. But man, I think we captured and we did the process of this is a brand that was built by and from the community. It's not us. Like we just helped with Stone Ward gather all of this points of data and feedback over
almost a year
process. More than close to a year.
That's because you guys were all kind of involved. I from the outside, I think I went to one listening session as a reporter.
You did,
and, awesome.
Interviewed some people, fly on the wall, but like you were all sort of involved in that process. So how was it to go through all of that? Were there times where it was like, oh my God, we're never going to find a name where no one's ever going to agree?
Yes.
Like,
is the short answer. Yes.
What was
hard.
it?
Harder than we thought.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
Because I think even Warren said it on stage last night, or maybe in the other event, but he said if we could have named this Quality of Life FC, we would have.
That was the feedback from the community. Man, we love living here. We have a great quality of life. And we're like, okay, like tell me
Go
more.
deeper.
Because we can't call it Quality of Life FC, guys. So that was the tip of the iceberg. And then you start to dive in, and it was nature, and it was community, and it was growth. And it was, hey, we're still Arkansas, and we're proud of Arkansas, but we're also Northwest Arkansas. Like, that is unique to us, right? And we want to tell the rest of the world what Northwest Arkansas is and what this region is, right? And so we had all of that to put into a brand. And it was a longer process than we had wished we had to do. But, man, I'm so glad we spent the extra time. And we were ready 3 months ago to release something, and then tweaking and then not happy with it 2 months ago, and let's get more feedback, and let's ask this and that, and we just kept pushing the envelope more and more until we got to a point where we have a logo that's super unique, right? This is an oval shaped logo. I think in the US, like soccer wise, there's no shapes like this. Maybe AC Milan has in Europe, a few something similar. but it's pretty bold in the soccer community.
Yeah.
Like, everything's a crest or a shield or circular.
For the
Right?
most part. Yeah.
So, like, when I saw this, being a soccer traditionalist, I was like, oh, I don't know, guys. Like, this might be a little much. Like, we have to lean out. Like, I was a little bit scared, right? You have to kind of get around it a little bit more.
I mean, your question to process, I mean, you only get to launch a brand one time. Yeah. Yes, people go through brand iterations and rebranding, but like, how hard is that from a community standpoint and buy-in and all of that if you have to then, we didn't do that right, and we have to go back, right? And then you ultimately get to the right place, right? And 5 years later, nobody remembers. But you only get to do this once. So we had to poke so many holes in this over and over and over again and continue to get feedback along the way. I think that was just what was most important to us was this isn't our club. This is the community's. And so they have to be at the center of it and involved every step of the way. And we've maintained that from the beginning. And we stayed true to that in our process. And so when we say this isn't our club, it's the community's, we mean it because they literally helped name it and design the crest, and the feedback and all of that was put into it. So, in terms of the crest itself, one of the overwhelming pieces of feedback that we heard is, this is just such a unique place, right? And when we released our mission, vision, values, our mission starts off with, we're here to challenge the ordinary and cultivate the extraordinary. And so that's why you see a non-traditional crest shape. Right?
I dig it. And I love the colors too. Like I'm glad y'all stayed away from red.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We heard that feedback. It had to be our own brand.
Yeah. Internally, we also said like, unless the feedback from the community is just overwhelming that it has to be, we're not going to, we want to let them have their brand and be unique, and we're going to be our own.
Because even going back to those fans that don't relate to the Razorbacks that are from other colleges that moved in here to Bend County, Sebastian County, Washington County, I think it's important, to make sure everybody feels included.
Absolutely.
And I think that y'all did so great at just the inclusivity part. I think is super nice to see. The decisions that were made. Are y'all able to talk about like the finalist names, like the names that weren't picked?
Oh yeah.
Like, can y'all?
No.
Or,
what if we just
here's what I'll
pitch
say
some
though.
of them?
We had like 1,000 submissions.
It was well over that, yeah.
Some were a bit ridiculous, but for the most part, like we're like, okay, there's like a lot here. Some we had no idea what they were.
There's a lot of rumors of names.
So like what? What did you hear?
Well, Kyle here from Ozarks at Large told me right now when I was talking to him. He's like, you know what? I heard there was a possibility of it being called Heartland FC.
Interesting.
And I was like, I did not hear that one. I didn't hear that one.
A submission that came across for sure.
Yeah.
That's funny. Hellbenders is a great example. It was somebody had thought that would be a great name. I don't know if you're familiar with what a Hellbender is, and now the supporters group is called Ozark Hellbenders, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so the Hellbender is a salamander that is native to the Ozarks.
The Ozark Hellbender.
Yes,
specifically,
the Ozark Hellbender.
It's
also pretty rare and becoming extinct. And so we thought that Hellbender would not necessarily be a great team name. It'd be kind of fun, but there could be some challenges in the name and certain parts of the country. And so we that was not one of the leading candidates, but the supporters group fell in love with the name. Because think about that. Like, they are the people that want to raise hell behind the goal and be loud and make it a place that other teams just don't want to come and play. Kind of like you go to a Razorback game, and our fans here are notorious for being a tough crowd, and away teams hate coming here. That's the same. Like, we have a sports passion here. Like, people love the community. They love, like, we're going to have the same type of atmosphere, and particularly that in soccer, it's a little bit different even, right? It's even more personal, and, the supporter section behind the goal is going to be really raising hell, right? And to make it a difficult place to play. So that was just another kind of iteration of a name that ended up being a great fit for the supporters group. And they just announced that, and actually Colin and Carlos talked about that on stage yesterday and led the first chants and did a little bit of that, and that was awesome to get the crowd going on some soccer chants.
Yeah. I mean, ones that weren't in consideration that we can tell you guys from some of the submissions were like the Howlers, you know, talking about a mythical creature that, you know,
Kinda
can
like
be
that
found
one,
in
too.
the Ozarks. So that was one that was like, that's interesting, but it didn't make it to kind of final consideration as we were whittling it down. Wanderers was another one, a little bit more classic, but actually, and it was one that initially we were kind of like, that may not be bad. But it was actually grabbed in the U.S. and trademarked by Wolverhampton. So there's a whole, like, there's so many things.
You don't realize how limiting you actually get, you know, which is really interesting. So where we ended up, like, Ozark, great representing of our region, right? Not just our area, but now we stretch this thing to be even bigger. But we have, 40 or 50 businesses in Northwest Arkansas that are called Ozark something. So
Probably even more.
Yeah.
We're very familiar with the name already. And then United is about bringing the communities together, make sure we're all going in the same direction.
People really like that.
Yeah, it might not be viewed as the most creative name, right? But man, it fit. And again, it's something that personally we were like at the beginning before we started talking to people, like, I'm not sure about United, like this, you know. And then you just start to hear from the community
and what it meant to them too,
you know. And so when you put it together with Ozark United FC, like then it United fits. If it was just a United team, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But then the story behind it, and then you start to interwoven, you know, Z into the O, and then even the fine detail. I mean, we spent so much time on, you know, regnant populace. I didn't know what that meant before.
The people rule.
But it's our state motto, the people rule.
So we still have the nod.
Yeah, what a great name for a fan base, right? And a team that we want the community to be a big part of, right? And so the people rule is like, hey, we're all part of this thing, right? And then a nod to the diamond, right? Arkansas, great. Like, this is a great.
I hadn't even seen the diamond yet.
Yeah.
There's the diamond right there.
The diamond,
Oh, that's cool.
a nod to 25, the 25th state of the Republic, right? So there's an interwoven story in there, and then the kind of, what do we call these, ascending?
The ascending stripes, yeah. Just, you know, Cooper Chapel, you guys saw that in the video, right? That was something that people thought was great in terms of imagery and signifying strength, but also the promise of tomorrow, and we're progressing as a community. And that was one of the things that we heard so many times was the thing that people love about Northwest Arkansas is feeling like they're a part of building a community and a region together, and the possibility of what that can become, and that it's such a special place today, and they get to feel like they're part of building that. And so that's where, you know, we really felt it connected to some of the imagery in the community, the mountains of Northwest Arkansas and the Ozark region, and then also building on what did we hear, which was people love, you know, what this community is becoming and can become.
Maybe if we didn't do the listening sessions, we probably could have gotten some nature, we probably could have gotten some community, but hearing people talk about why they love being here, and man, I travel a lot, and sometimes I leave and I come back for a business trip for 3-4 days, and I'm like, oh, that's new, right? Oh wow, we got that coming too, you know? Like, oh, that road's closed because we're doing construction. But yeah, it's annoying, but that's cool. Like, I grew up in the Northeast. I mean, this restaurant that was there because that guy's father owned it and their family owned it, and it's been the same place with the same name and the same furniture from the 1950s, right? And here it's like, we're just constantly changing and evolving, and we kind of forget about that and get a little spoiled, honestly.
Yeah, I did we're
very fortunate.
A road trip to Washington State a few months ago, and then when I was coming back and I was going through Benville, I saw there was like a temple, and I was like, where did this temple come from?
Every time I go, I get lost. I never come up here, and when I do, I'm in the wrong spot.
You go biking on the bike trail, so that bike trail's closed because they're expanding or building a new bridge, and you got diverted here. Like, just everything is always evolving, right? But that came through the listening sessions. To me, that was one of the bigger elements that came back that led us to probably a little bit more of a modern, a little bit more different,
a little bit more forward,
a little more forward-looking type of patch and crest versus the traditional shields that we saw a lot. And we could have just put pictures of mountains and bikes on here.
It's
And
it's
that would have
clean,
been
though.
really good and easy, and it would have worked.
It's very clean. I like it.
We wanted it to be clean,
And the United part, going back to that, the reason why I think that's important is because there is a lot of division here in our area. Like I feel like sometimes people from Springdale can't relate for the folks from Bentonville. There's disconnect from the people in West Fork to, Rogers. And the United part, it does do something to our community and it does bring us together. It's crazy how a team can do that, right?
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of soccer, the fact that it can do that. And just seeing the culture grow here in Northwest Arkansas for me and for other people, it's such a cool thing to see because, I've hosted like soccer games at local restaurants before, trying to create a culture here and there. And sometimes people show up, sometimes people don't, and it doesn't really have momentum. So I feel like the project that y'all are working on really creates that momentum to the largest scale. And I think that's it makes me happy.
Well, Irvin, for you, I mean, because you were involved in those listening sessions, so like when you went into that, what did you expect who did you expect to be there? What did you expect it to be like? And did it maybe connect you with people you didn't think? Mm-hmm. Like, did you find out, oh, wow, there are so many people who are interested in soccer and are about this that I didn't even know?
Yeah, I think for me, when you get invited to just things in general, like when you get personally invited, a lot of the times it's like the same people, right? It's like the same people that the community has seen as community leaders. Mm-hmm. But whenever I got to participate in the panels, it was just folks in the community who are passionate about soccer or passionate about bringing sport to this area. And for me, that was cool in the fact that it was a diverse, panel. So whenever I left actually before I left, we even had individual conversations with the folks from the marketing team, which I thought was cool too. To maybe sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking in front of other people when they're really passionate about something, and to have the opportunity to talk one-on-one with the marketing folks, in a private setting, I think is very vital so that people can really say what they really feel, what they don't want to say in front of other people.
Us there also.
Yeah, that too, because if I would have had you all like staring at me.
Yeah. We intentionally
removed ourselves
from that process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did y'all feel after? Like, when was the first time you saw the finished logo crest, and what did you feel at that moment when y'all saw it?
Final was probably late July, I think.
I wouldn't even say final. It was a good draft.
Yeah.
Ish. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, it was getting there.
It was getting there. Early August, maybe.
That's where we started to okay, I think we're on to something here. But then it was the diamond, the 25, the fine details of it just kept pushing that envelope a little bit more to have it ready. Where we were like, all right, early September, we're like, okay, this is like, boom, we got this.
Yeah,
we nailed it. We nailed it back from the feedback here. So
yeah, that's true. We did have to your point, we did have to oh wait, let's do this. Oh wait, I have an idea. Yeah. Oh wait,
I mean, you could go on for 6 months tweeting if you really wanted to, right? Yeah.
And that's nerve-wracking, right? Because that
people were waiting. Like,
not only that, but it's like that people have different opinions. Like, you can. It would be weird if someone agreed 100%. Like, if everybody agreed 100%, because that's very come on, like, you gotta disagree.
That mean that people don't care, which is also probably a bad sign.
Well, it seems like a trivial thing, a logo or just it's like, oh, it's just a picture of something.
Right.
But like, why is it so important? I don't know. Did you? Because I don't think I really thought about it until I was covering the story and going to see this process of how important this actually is to people.
A brand is always important, right? But in soccer, this is everything to a fan. It is absolutely everything to a fan. And they wear it so proudly.
How many times do you see players
kiss the logo?
Kiss the logo when they score.
Just did it recently with Real Madrid.
Real Madrid.
It is.
Shout out.
We got to talk about that, Chris.
It is so important and just steeped in tradition and history within the sport going back hundreds of years. And so that is you have to get that right.
I wanted to ask y'all some of the questions that people are thinking of right now, and I know some of them will probably be we don't know yet, or that we're still thinking about it. Yeah. And some questions we've already covered in our first interview, Chris, but just a refresher for people. When does the team? When is it actually supposed to start having games?
Yeah.
Like I think the men's team is first, right?
Yeah. It's so March 2026 is our targeted kickoff date. It's a very accelerated time frame. Seems like it's not, but when you start getting into the hundreds of steps that need to happen to be ready to kick off by then, most of Warren Smith's projects that he's done, and he's done this many times before, they're on the quick end, they're 3 years. A lot of them are 5 years, just from beginning to end, right? And so we're an accelerated time frame. We would probably be sitting in more like the 3-year frame to that. So that's still our goal. We're still on track to do that, and we want to nail that if we can. It's one of the main reasons is because 2026 is a massive year in America for the World Cup coming here. Like last time the World Cup came was 1994, and that was a massive moment of build of the sport in this country, and it led to our first sustainable major soccer league, which was MLS. That only started in 1996. People forget, like, this is a young baby sport in the U.S., right? Yeah. This version of the USL is only 15-ish years old, right? There was other iterations, but these are young, still growing, developing sports, right? But every single year, they're just growing rapidly, while some other sports are kind of holding and declining, especially when you look at young demographics. Soccer is number 2 in the ages 12 to 24, right behind the NFL in terms of fandom in an ESPN study. Believe that, number 2 behind the NFL, and barely.
By like 1
ages
percentage
12
point.
to 24. So that's the population that's becoming, into that prime. We look at 18 to 34 as kind of 18 to 44 is kind of our, range for soccer. That's kind of always, it's a very young sport. So anyway, I added more to the color, but that's our target is March 2026 for men's. And the women's was fast follow. So we need to provide the right avenue and the right process to brand a women's team as well, right? And so we didn't want to brand a women's team with feedback that we got for a men's team, right?
Yep.
We want to make sure that we provide that. Could it be the same? Maybe. Could it be completely different? Maybe. We don't know. We're going to go back to
So it hasn't been finalized
as
with women's team being Ozark United as well.
No.
But it's still it's on the table.
People use.
It's on the table. There's different strategies that people use, but ultimately we're going to do exactly what we did with the men is we're going to let the people weigh in and then based upon that make a decision and go.
In global soccer, in Europe, they use the same logo generally for the men's and the women's. Yeah. In the U.S., there are some that are same name but different logos and different colors and feel maybe. That's an option too.
So what you're saying is
then there's a third option where they go completely different under the same umbrella of their own brand.
So what you're saying is the Hellbenders is still up for grabs.
The Hellbenders is still up for grabs. Ladies, take note.
That'd be a good.
Now you're leading the community.
Yeah, throwing it out there.
All right.
Hey, y'all got to pull up to those sessions.
You're uninvited.
Whatever they start. What about the stadium? What is the
stadium? Good part about stadiums, we're building a modular structure, right? So not brick and mortar. The reason you do that is one, it's a great way to start something like this. Usually it's about 10% of the cost of a brick and mortar stadium. Also, the benefit for us is that we don't know how big this thing can be. Kind of like last night's event, right? Is it going to be 200 people? No, it ended up being 550 or whatever the final number was, right? And so our stadium plan is 5,000 seats to launch with, right? But when you build it in brick and mortar, which is aluminum and steel based, you can quickly add and expand to that. Yeah. And you can also flex that to be usable for multi-use events. And that's the beautiful part about our stadium. It's not just, hey, we're going to play soccer in there. Like when you build a baseball stadium, it's really hard to do other things. You got a weird shape. Hard to play soccer in a baseball stadium. The fans are far from it.
They tried it at that Yankee Stadium.
There's teams that do it, and sometimes you have to do that to get going. We want to try to make sure this is done the right way from the beginning, and that's a big part of the timeline that I talked about earlier. Is getting that stadium done ready for 2026. And so if we're going to target March 2026, we want to break ground. Call it mid 25.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the target. So we're under a really tight time frame here. But that's why we have a great community support behind us. Mayor of Rogers was there last night. shout out to Mayor Greg Hines. He's just been tremendous support for us, and we have a lot of support. So that takes a village to build it. But that's the process for the stadium, and so you start at 5,000. We think that this can be way bigger than that, right? We know it can, but it's more important to build a nice atmosphere from the beginning and have it be a soccer passionate crowd that's tight on the field and full versus a 35,000 seat stadium that is only half full, right? And so that's really what we're trying to do, is create a great atmosphere, a great experience, and build memories.
What about jerseys? Is there any date as to?
I'm asking all the
questions from Reddit.
There will. It's a great question. There will be later. Typically, you see them come out, a couple months before the start of the new season. Typically, we kick off in March. Ideally, you'd launch it early November for Black Friday, holiday timeframe, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's typically much closer to the final event. Yeah. Those also have a very long lead time for custom stuff as well. So
quality and everything.
They're fantastic.
We did partner with Charlie.
Yep.
So maybe talk about that.
So we partnered with Charlie, which is a Mexican-based global headquarters in Mexico. Yeah. They have been in the U.S. now for several years and are, have a couple teams in our league already with Memphis and Oakland. And we're coming on board, and there may be a couple other clubs coming on board as well.
They posted about it today, right? On their social media, I think.
Yeah, they posted yesterday and today. They're very excited. And, I mean, they've got almost a third of the Liga MX clubs as their clubs. So their designs are really awesome, and I think that they're going to resonate. And they've done a great job. They did, a lot of our merch is Charlie, and they've done a phenomenal job.
We could
with
have
the
gone
design.
with, just run-of-the-mill kind of, American big firms, and we wanted to, be broader than that and bring also some diversity of ideas with that too. So ends up being a tremendous partner for us. So
yeah, makes sense. And so what's next for y'all? Like, what do y'all focus on now? What does that look like?
It's building out what we just talked about. So it's continuing to build stadium, ownership group, and getting everything ready for, again, an aggressive target of March 2026, right? While we're doing that, it's then also a lot of what Wes does is just keep building our brand, getting out into community, doing community events. We have a U20 Youth Academy already established,
I saw that.
which has just been awesome. They were all there yesterday, and that's just been great. It's the first time in Northwest Arkansas that we were able to bring the best players who played for all their individual clubs and high schools, which are always siloed and competitive, like you talked about, different cities and different. I play here, you play there, and we don't like to hang. And this is the first time that we were able to bring the best players in multiple age groups in Northwest Arkansas to play together. And we were just talking to the coaches and the players, and every one of them was saying, I felt like I got better already from being there in a couple of months because the level of play is so much higher than they were used to, right? Instead of having 3 good players on your team, now you have 20. And they're all super competitive, and they all want to go play Division I in college or make it as a professional soccer player. And so the commitment and the training, and they're there early, and they come stay late, and they go work out, and
who's currently coaching the team?
Scott Marksbury is the guy that's currently coaching. So he's just done an amazing job in the community. He's just perfect for this role, and so it was actually his idea originally, and came to us to kind of help partner with it.
It was always part of our plans, but
we
he was
we
like,
thought it'd be something we do later on. And
community needs this. Do you guys want to partner?
Yeah. So
this should live with you.
We end up losing a lot of our talent at certain points here, both on the boys and girls side. 15 through like 18, there's the higher level of soccer that's required to go play at college at a professional is lacking here still, right? And so players have left and literally moved with their families to go chase their dreams into other communities. Some just go to Tulsa and play ECNL on the girls' side. Probably 20 to 30 girls every year commuting 4 times a week to Tulsa to practice and play. It's a massive lifestyle commitment that a lot of these ladies are making. On the boys' side, they'll just move. Houston has a couple. One went out to Seattle with Sounders trial. Kansas City a ton because of the correlation. Dallas also.
St. Louis.
Like, they'll literally move their families at 15, 16, 17, 18 to go try. And so, and by the way, like, I coached a lot. I was coaching with the Comets for a long time, and we lost several of those boys that had a high-level team. And my advice to them was to go do that. If that's what you wanted to do, go do that. You got to understand the risk you're taking. You got to understand that it's a lifestyle change. You're going to be new, school, all that stuff. But if that's the opportunity that has been presented to you and your family's supportive of that and they can do that, go and chase that. You might as well try it, right?
Yep.
I would have loved to have kept them on my team because they were our best players, but that was the right thing to do for them. But, man, how much better would it be that they don't have to put their families through that and they can do it here in Northwest Arkansas. And so that's what we're trying to build out here. And this is just like the tip of that academy structure. And player development is a big part of what we want to be a part of down the road. And move players on, right? That's our job.
They have
That's what
something
clubs-
local to look forward to.
Absolutely.
To like play and try to be their best for, to be a part of, which
They
is
can
really,
see
really
it,
cool.
right? And
Yeah.
that's
Same
That was
brand.
something
The
that
same
really
color.
struck me. Like, being there last night, it felt like it was something big.
Yeah.
Because growing up playing soccer in Arkansas, I was never good enough to go but I played with guys who probably would have been.
I'm pretty sure you're kind of good, Daniel.
I could just run fast. I was midfield, so I could run fast and pass the ball, and that's about it. But I played with guys who were good, and they just didn't have that infrastructure did not exist
Interesting.
to like go to the next level, to
Love
get
it.
recruited, to go to a college. It just wasn't there, and so to have something, and their families didn't have the ability to go and move somewhere.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so,
Yeah.
It's a huge
to have
role.
this
It's a massive-
here, it just feels big. It feels special.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would be, if I didn't talk about like our teams, I would be making a mistake. We have like Real Madrid, Liverpool, Chelsea. Wes, you must be feeling pretty good, right? Top of the league right now.
Top of the table, baby. Top of the table. But we'll
really
see
nipping
what
at the
see what
heels,
happens.
baby.
It's a little early to start celebrating, but yes,
Arsenal has
I'm-
done that before.
yes. I'll tell you that.
Sorry, Colin and the Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an Arsenal
I'm exceeding my expectations so far,
guys
and
look
I'm
good.
gonna ride the wave while it lasts. So.
I mean, it's looking. It is too ahead. Like we're too early on to say anything.
Way too early.
But it's looking pretty good. It's looking. The Premier League's looking a little bit more competitive this year.
Yes.
But sometimes Man City
Man City,
takes into full gear at the end of the season, and
We'll see what happens at the end of the season. They're gonna have a court decision, so we'll see what
that's
happens
right.
there.
There's like 121
He's hoping for
charges
some point
pending.
deductions, it sounds like.
A hefty fine.
Yeah.
But you're feeling pretty good about Chelsea right now, right? Daniel?
Look, I can't say on record that I feel good. Look, compared to last year, I'm excited. Cole's looking a hot streak.
Scored
It's
four
nice.
goals?
Insane.
Yeah.
4 goals
He's on
in
fire.
3 minutes.
In
was
3
it?
minutes.
That's
Yeah.
Wasn't that a record? Like the first time
Yeah.
there's ever been scored 4 goals in the first half of a Premier League game in history. I
I
think.
think so, yeah.
I
Something
don't think
like that.
anybody's
It
ever
was
scored
wild.
4
Might be
goals.
right.
It was
Holy cow.
insane.
It was insane.
But yeah, no, just from the past 2 or 3 years to be at this point, I'm like waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I feel good. So
Yeah.
And then Real Madrid is I wouldn't say struggling because we
Yeah.
just lost our first game in 258 days.
I know.
Like we're privileged and
what was
we're
the unbeaten
spoiled
streak?
over here.
40 or something like that, right? There's a draws in there, but no, like
But
it's
that's still
insane.
it hurt, right?
It's-
You're the guy that always replies back to my tweets,
know.
my soccer tweets, because I know you're also in there. You're just like,
Yeah,
man, like.
yeah. Listen, I love Los Blancos. It's my connection with Luka Modric, and
I was gonna ask
he's
you if that's why
he's a
you like
legend
them.
There, right? He's
Yeah.
been there. 6 Champions Leagues. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And he's 39, and he's starting games. And the other game, the last La Liga game, he ended up being man of the match and 100% pass completion. It was the first player in Europe this season with 40 or more attempts that had 100% pass completion. Like 40 or more passes at 39 years old, and you didn't miss one of them. Like, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
But I think, for us, it's all about Champions League. Let's, and
But that
my
format
buddy's a
is-
Barcelona fan. I always say, you guys might win the JV La Liga. That's all right. That's fine. We're going for the varsity title here. Sorry, Barca fans, but we're going for the varsity title. What are we, 15? Right? Overall
Yeah,
now?
but that new
And
format's it's different.
Very
It's
different.
different.
The Champions
I still
League-
don't
different.
even.
I don't get it
Yeah,
yet.
it's going to
I
be a little
don't
different.
Because we're like we're down there right now.
Yeah.
We're not even in the top 10 on the table. And the top 10's like Benfica, I think, is up
It's
there.
It's wild.
It'll
even
I
out
always
as
assume
it.
things will even out over time, right?
It's a
They'll
who's
start-
who of who's that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
but it's cool though. There's some great stories.
Yeah.
Benfica looked great the other day. The other Croatian team, Dinamo Zagreb, had a 2-0 lead and then blew it, and they tied 2-2. You know, I can't remember who the heck it was, but there was some crazy finishes.
Yeah.
In Champions League, so the format could be interesting.
Daniel
How it
asked,
shakes out.
he brought it up to me because he said there's 2 Croatian players
Oh, yeah,
in
you got
City.
Guardiola and
Are you,
Kovacic.
do you support City too?
I do, just because of
Okay.
them. I mean, I don't support City per se. So I'll be honest, I'm not like, there's real City fans out there. But I mean, I have to. I love Guardiola. I think he's the best. I think he's the best left back in the world, and I think he's not even peaked at his ability. And he can play center back, and he can play left wing almost, and
He scored
put him in the middle.
scored a goal the other day.
Goals,
last
crafty goal, like cuts
Yeah.
it back, just slots it to the far corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's dynamite. And he's 22. Like, he's a stud.
Yeah.
And then Kovacic in the midfield is just awesome. And that midfield's so good that he
Former
almost
Real
gets
Madrid,
lost
Chelsea
there.
player.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. That's right. So I follow them a little more, but I do love watching Liverpool play, even though, Wes is, a big fan. But I do enjoy watching them play. 'Cause I like good football. So even watching Man City play, like, it's fun. Like, even as a fan, you're like, God, it's pretty fun watching them play, right?
Yeah.
Spurs is like kind of my team in the Premier League. So nice win last weekend, 4 goals.
Didn't they also beat, was it Manchester United?
Yeah, Big Man.
Yeah, they beat Man U
Manchester- who
3-0.
Manchester United
As my
is in a
sister
rough
is
stretch right
a
now.
Spurs fan, and my
Is she?
brother-in-law
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a Man U fan.
My
So
brother-in-law
There you
too.
go.
It's a
There you go.
fun
It's funny.
house divided.
I know a lot of Man U fans. A lot of Man U fans in the States, especially.
They're struggling right now.
Yeah,
I feel bad, but hopefully soon something happens
Yeah,
there.
I
I don't know
agree.
what it is. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if it's the player. That I
at some point
think
it's
people
gonna be
have
the coach. That's what I
given
want
up
at
to
some point. You
figure
can't-
that out.
So,
Where can people reach out I guess for different things? I guess first I wanted to ask about the reserving the possibility of getting season tickets. What is that?
maybe we could cover that. We could cover this website. And
Yeah,
how to-
yeah,
how to
so
kind of set up a database. All that stuff.
We aren't yet ready to accept season ticket deposits, right? Which is kind of reserves your place in line for the season tickets, right? But we do have a list that people can sign up for at 0 cost that gets you, when we're ready for that stage, 24-hour early access before the general public goes live. And so if you're on that list, you'll be able to go in to secure your season ticket deposit. If you're on that list, it doesn't guarantee you one. You still have to go and do that. Just to be very, very clear, that disclaimer, it doesn't guarantee it. It just gives you the early access. So for those that want to make sure that they're ready to rock and roll and get notified, and I know that I'm getting early access, that's your list. And you can find us. Our new website is ozarkunited.com. So OZARKUNITED.com.
Nice.
And that sign up list is on our tickets tab. So it's super easy to fill out, really quick, takes you all of 30 seconds, and you're on the list. You can also follow us on all the major social handles at Ozark United FC, all together, all spelled correctly, all the major socials, and you'll find us there as well.
How about your podcast?
Podcast is still doing great, pitch to pro. And now we have something really fun to talk about with our brand and go through all of that story. And, we're going to be releasing some of that stuff as well. So keep following along for some of the behind the scenes and telling a story about how we build our club and then getting to know some people in the community as well along the way.
I saw that podcast videos. They have lights, little lights in the back. Now, time to change those to green.
Now we can change those to green and maybe a little bit different background and maybe our logo. Yeah. So
I'm excited
it's
for
going to
that.
be fun. Yeah.
But thank you both for being here. I appreciate you taking the time, especially the day after the reveal. And I'm just excited to see how everything, just rolls out in the next few years, in the next few months. And I think people are really excited about just everything that's going on right now with Ozark United, and you all have been doing a good job. So I just wanted to give y'all's flowers for the work that you've been putting in.
Thank you, Irvin.
And bringing this to our community. I think we're very happy and we're very excited. But for everybody listening, make sure you check out Ozark United's website. Make sure you check out the podcast as well. Pitch to Pro, available on YouTube, on Apple,
Spotify,
on Spotify.
Anywhere you get your podcasts. Yes, sir.
And yeah, thank you all for listening. That was episode 270 with Irvin and my special guest co-host, Daniel Caruth. And we'll catch you all next week. Thank you all.